And welcome in the early line here on this Tuesday. We appreciate you stopping by as we get ready, of course, for the final week of the Major League Baseball regular season. Kind of crazy to think that's where we're at, but it starts with a full slate here today. I'm Joe Raineri alongside Adam Kaufman. And when you look at it, Adam, it's been 6 months now of Major League Baseball. Kind of crazy here. And it's all going to come down to this final week where we've got 4 division titles that seem to be, well, we have an idea on who might win, but not really. We do have a pretty decent idea of who's in the postseason. It's just a matter of what order they're going to end up showing in, unless, of course, you are the New York Mets, who are trying to do whatever they can do to remain relevant here because it's been a rough final month here of September for them. They went from, yes, it's going to be the Mets to now, if it ended today, the Reds, because of the tiebreaker, they won the season series, would be in the postseason. So this is a huge final week for the Mets. And the good news is they get to take on the Cubs, who quite honestly tonight, Adam, have nothing to play for, although Horton is going for him against Peterson. Can the Mets put it together at Wrigley to get this done?
Yeah, if you want to lean into the desperation narrative, why not take the Mets at plus money? But I would say Chicago's at minus 120 for a reason, and that is the superiority on the mound, as you just said, with Cade Horton on the bump. But it's true. I mean, the Mets have been going the wrong way, for weeks on end at this point in time. They've lost their last 2. That, with the Reds' 5-game winning streak, has led to this tiebreaker situation. The only saving grace for New York is that you still have a half dozen games to play. All these teams are starting their final 2 series. And like you said, we got 4 divisions that are somewhat up for grabs. And the wild card races in both leagues are still coming down to the wire for a couple of teams that are on the outside looking in. And so if ever there were a team to at least take a flyer, invest in New York at again, a plus money situation, knowing that, I mean, your season is quite literally on the line. Not to say you have to win tonight, otherwise you're done. You have any breathing room per se, but that this can go game to game for at least the next couple, depending on what you do and what the Reds do. I don't think that the Cardinals are going to pick up 3.5 games in 6, but still, this is getting sweaty. This is, a pressure time here for New York to respond. And you're also on the road, which is not easy. And the Mets have not been good outside of Citi Field this year. It's 31-44. And a Cubs team, to your point, they've locked up a playoff spot. They know they're going. They're, the top wild card team by a wide margin. They don't necessarily have anything to play for. I don't think they're going to lose that top wild card spot, but if it is something that they concern themselves with at all, then you do need to kind of keep the pedal on the metal for at least the next couple of days to lock that in, because you don't want to all of a sudden slip to number 2 if you go on a little few game skid here and all of a sudden you're visiting a team, San Diego in this case, in the wild card round as opposed to hosting the wild card round. You want that home field advantage for 2-3 games, whatever it winds up being. So, as far as the Mets, I could see the logic in making the investment. But if you're looking for me to sit here and tell you, yeah, you can trust New York, you can never trust New York. We haven't been able to trust New York in months.
Well, the Mets are going to need help, and they don't control their own destiny. But Cincinnati does, since they own the tiebreaker, and they've got a game against these Pittsburgh Pirates, whose season has long been over here, 29 games under 500. But, the Reds have been one of the more inconsistent teams, to say the least. But they've battled Brady Singer on the mound, Johan Oviedo on the mound for the Pirates. He hasn't exactly been great since being reactivated off the IL. So can the Reds at home at the Great American Small Park continue to win some games down a stretch and steal the Mets postseason?
Well, not to sound lazy with this take, but I don't see why not, Joe. I mean, look, Cincinnati is a good home team. It's won, it's 10 games over 500 home. Obviously, it's put together this 5-game winning streak. Before that, there was some mediocrity. There was a little bit of slumping, a little bit of up and down play, but now getting hot at the right time over the course of the final couple weeks of the regular season. And as you said, Singer's a good pitcher, for like by today's standards. And I don't mean he's, going to flirt with a Cy Young or even an All-Star berth or something like that, but he is someone that has a sub-4 ERA, solid, good for a starting pitcher, back in an era that responds well to obviously pitching. And I think that you need to. This Pittsburgh team sucks. Now the offense has kind of come alive in the second half a little bit, which makes these games more competitive. But the pitching is not something you can rely on ever, unless Paul Skeens is on the bump, obviously. So, absent that, which you don't have tonight, as you said with Oviedo, I think it's a good spot to just continue to ride the wave here with Cincinnati. I know there are a lot of people that don't like to jump on streaks mid-streak. Like, you want to be on it from the beginning. I don't want to be on it and all of a sudden it loses. Like, I don't think it loses tonight. I'd be fine hopping on. Now, if you don't like the minus 160-ish, I don't blame you. You could always parlay it with something else, some heavy favorite that you like, or even consider maybe a first 5 play and take it on the result, the run line at minus half a run just to win the first 5. You'll get a considerably better number. You could do that as well. But I like Cincinnati in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, the Cubs, prior to winning 2 games over the weekend, the final 2 games of that set against the Athletics, prior to that, they had lost 12 of 13, 6 of their last 7 away from home. So it's kind of hard to say, the Pirates are going to play spoiler here, but Brady Singer has lost twice out of 3 starts against Pittsburgh so far this season, but he has been lights out for the Reds in September. Just about a 2 ERA in his last 3 starts. So they're going to need him to show up big here tonight. So the Reds are at home. The Mets are on the road. You got to keep winning some games. And this is exactly what Rob Manfred of Major League Baseball wanted. Meaningful baseball in the final week of the regular season. What about the American League? Can the Tigers or the Guardians get it done? What about the Red Sox and the Blue Jays? Got more to talk here as the early line continues on the grid. All right, welcome back in the early line here on this Tuesday as the final week of the Major League Baseball season is here. Plenty still at stake for some teams. And when you look at the American League, my goodness, how have we gotten here with the Detroit Tigers? A collapse of epic proportions. And the Guardians, give them credit. They never really quit on the season, got rid of some pieces there at the trade deadline. One of the best closers in Major League Baseball has been suspended in a gambling probe, one of their starters also. And yet here they are with an opportunity at home to really put the nail in the Tigers season. I can't believe it, but they got Skubal versus Williams today. Are the Guardians just going to keep rolling here? Skubal hadn't been great down the stretch here.
I don't think so. I don't think so tonight anyway. That doesn't mean the Guardians aren't going to keep rolling, overtake the Tigers at some point in time. I just don't think tonight is the night. I think ultimately, Tariq Skubal is a guy that obviously we expect to win the Cy Young Award by a pretty good margin over Garrett Crochet. So if you're going to do that, how about play like it? There's been inconsistency in Skubal's game. Last time out, the 1 run against the Guardians, these same Guardians that he's about to face over 6 frames, he was excellent. Game before in Miami, gets roughed up. Before that, it's a shutout, back-to-back 7-inning shutouts, as a matter of fact, against both the White Sox and the Royals in the AL Central. And so, here it's just Skubal needs to be Skubal. This is a guy who has an ERA barely above 2. Again, he's been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, Joe, here, obviously. And your stopper needs to be your stopper. This is 6 straight losses. And, say what you want about how well the Guardians have been playing, and they've been exceptional. I mean, they are a team that deserves to be in the postseason. But by the same token, it has been a monumental collapse out of the Detroit Tigers, really going back to the All-Star break. This has not all happened just in the last couple of weeks. This team has been really bad or very inconsistent and downright not good for a stretch of months at this point in time. So I like the minus 150. I know it's a lot of juice, but I like the minus 150 on Detroit to win this game tonight. And for, again, the Tigers' best pitcher to be their best pitcher and to just stop the bleeding, get the win, allow themselves to refocus a little bit. What happens after that, we'll see. You don't have anybody else in the rotation that rivals Skubal, obviously, but I like him to get the job done.
Tigers were up as many as 10 games as of September 3rd in the division. And now that is not the case. Final 6 games on the road for them in this spot. So kind of shocking, but in the other part of the American League, the Red Sox now are taking on the Blue Jays. Blue Jays still trying to clinch here, the American League East. The Yankees still trying to be relevant as well, maybe possibly overtake them. And just like that, the Red Sox are trying to cling on to a wild card spot. Giolito versus Gausman here tonight in Toronto. What are you thinking?
I've got no feel for this game, Joe. This Red Sox team, you would like to think, and maybe there's some Red Sox bias for me, you'd like to think that this team would figure out a way. The reality is, over the last several weeks at this point, couple weeks, 3 weeks, they haven't been able to hit. They're not driving in runners to scoring position, except when they come in flurries, when they'll put up a touchdown in a random inning. But generally speaking, a lot of futility on the bases, and the pitching has taken a step back. Even Crochet has not been as sharp. Bayo has not been as sharp. Giolito, who's on the mound tonight, as you said, not been as sharp. Now, this is a very important series for both these teams. The Red Sox are hanging on for dear life to a playoff spot right now with teams right on their heels. The Blue Jays, who had a pretty good lead, not a 10-game lead, but a pretty good lead there in the American League East, trying to hold on to this division. But the Yankees have been playing so well that this thing could go south. I mean, if the Red Sox, I don't think this is going to happen, but let's just say the Red Sox sweep this series, all of a sudden, Toronto's probably not leading the division anymore. You're probably at second place in the Yankees, and all of a sudden you're focused on, boy, are we going to even host a wild card round, or is Boston going to overtake us for that in the final 3 games? So the Blue Jays really have to take one here, if not 2, to maintain their division lead right now, the way New York has gone.
Going to be interesting. Final week of the regular season is upon us. Again, going to be fun to watch whether or not the Red Sox can clinch that postseason berth. Blue Jays, magic number is 4. All right, welcome back into the early line here on the Sports Grid Network as we look to wrap up another edition here. Joe Raineri alongside Adam Kaufman. As customary here on each and every show, we do like to give a public a chance to chime in, and maybe, just maybe, we'll either back them or fade them. So let's check it out here with today's Fade the Public poll question. All right, and we are going to stick with Major League Baseball here, Adam, because let's face it, the regular season is coming to an end this week. But there are a lot of questions about who is that American League MVP going to be. It's been Aaron Judge, it feels like, since before the season started. But there's no denying that, Cal Raleigh has certainly made his name known, his presence known here. And then now when you look at the price of each, I mean, it's kind of 50-50 here. I voted for Aaron Judge because I just think the media markets are different and Aaron Judge will continue to get the headlines. But what did you think? Because the public is not agreeing with me here. They like Cal Raleigh to get the award, or at least should be getting the award. What do you think?
So I voted for Aaron Judge also, simply because I think that's the way it's going to play out. I think, like you said, there's the influence of the media markets. Now, if I were to acknowledge the other side, which again, obviously seems to be the public vote, and played the devil's advocate to the Aaron Judge, it's, there's voter fatigue. Judge has won before. I think this is not, a Vegas odds thing. This is not an algorithm. These are humans who have opinions that vote for these awards. And They like seeing new blood. They like seeing a catcher pop off the way that Raleigh has with all of these home runs. And to, I think most notably, take Seattle potentially to a division crown. It's not locked up yet, but as we sit here right now, a 3-game lead on the Houston Astros, I think if we look at, this stuff matters, Joe. This isn't like Alex Rodriguez of the Rangers on a bad team, but with an incredible season winning an award. These guys are kind of in similar situations. Statistically, they've both had very, very good seasons, great seasons, and are playing for teams that are fighting for division crowns. I think if you see one of them win the division and the other one is in the playoffs but falls short of a division crown as a wild card team, I think that is going to be something that maybe is a bit of a deal breaker for a lot of people out there, for voters. So if Seattle should happen to win the West and the Yankees fall short just behind Toronto and they get the first wild card spot, I think that will have some people sway and lean toward Cal Raleigh. And so that's something to watch for down the stretch here. But if New York is able to overtake Toronto and, I don't know, there's a speed bump by Seattle, or even if there isn't a speed bump by Seattle and New York just does enough, I think at that point in time, you could see Judge again because of the comeback from where they were.
All right. Well, we got more Major League Baseball coming up today. So let's check out what our buy best bets look like tonight. All right, I'm going to start here because I'm going to go with the Toronto Blue Jays and the Boston Red Sox game in a pretty good pitching battle here tonight between Giolito and Kaufman. And listen, it has not been a great stretch for Toronto offensively. They finally won a game against the Royals over the weekend, but they have not exactly been punching runs across. They're already in it, the postseason that is. They got a little more work to do to win the American League East, but this feels about as playoff atmosphere as it's going to get, especially for Boston. I'm going to stick with the starting pitchers, Kaufman, Giolito. I'm looking for fewer runs, under 4.5 tonight in the first 5 for me. And how about you, Adam? Something tells me you're going back with Detroit here, aren't you?
I am. I think Tariq Skubal and the Tigers get the job done. I've seen a lot of people out there in the space investing in the -1.5, right around +120 for Detroit. I don't blame people for doing that if you don't want to lay the juice and you think that the Tigers are going to win decisively. I'm just not willing to get there. I would go with the -150, play it a little bit safer, allow for just the 1-run victory. Skubal has dominated the Guardians over his last 9 meetings. 3-1, 1.65 ERA, a whip right around 0.8. It's a must-win for a slumping Tigers team. Your best pitcher needs to be your best pitcher here. I expect him to be the stopper, Joe.
Yeah, I am with you there. It's now or never. Great job, Adam. We appreciate you stepping in as always. The early line. We're back again with a few new tricks tomorrow here on the grid. Enjoy the games.